Every day is an opportunity for growth, yet so many of us find ourselves caught in routines that don't push us forward. We all have goals, dreams, and things we want to improve about ourselves. But often, we don't know where to begin or how to make consistent progress. It's easy to get distracted by the noise of daily life and feel like the things that matter most slip through the cracks. This is why it's crucial to focus on specific areas of your life each day. These aren't just random tasks or habits. They're things that, when practiced regularly, will transform your mindset, boost your productivity, and build the discipline necessary to achieve long-term success. In this guide, you'll learn about the 10 essential things you should work on every day. These are not quick fixes or one-time efforts. They are consistent practices that, when done regularly, will help you become the best version of yourself. Each step is simple but powerful. They will help you move past the self-doubt, distractions, and bad habits that hold you back. By the end of this guide, you will understand how to make steady progress toward your goals, build the mindset of someone who keeps improving no matter what, and develop habits that stick. It's all about taking small, consistent steps each day that over time add up to meaningful change. Ready to dive in? Let's get started. Chapter 1. Identifying limiting beliefs. There are days when everything feels right, when the world seems to line up perfectly with your goals and aspirations. But then, there are other days when you feel stuck, frustrated, or like something is quietly holding you back. You might have big dreams, ambitions, and the desire to improve, but there's this invisible force that feels like it's constantly pulling you down. It's as if there's a wall that you can't see, yet you know it's there, preventing you from moving forward. That wall, more often than not, is made up of the beliefs you hold about yourself and your abilities. The concept of limiting beliefs isn't new. Most of us have heard the phrase before, but we often underestimate just how powerful they can be. These beliefs, no matter how subtle, shape the way we approach life. They are the silent drivers of our decisions, actions, and even the choices we don't make. We all have them to some degree, and they influence our behavior in ways we often don't realize. But here's the thing, these beliefs aren't facts. They are just thoughts that we've accepted as truth over time, many of which we've never questioned. The problem with limiting beliefs is that they make us believe we are incapable of achieving what we desire. They tell us we're not good enough, not smart enough, not capable enough. These beliefs might have formed in childhood, perhaps from a teacher or a parent who unknowingly planted a seed of doubt. Maybe it was a failure or rejection that led you to conclude that you weren't cut out for success. Over time, that seed grew, and now it seems like an undeniable part of who you are. But the truth is, limiting beliefs are just that, beliefs. They are not unchangeable facts of life. In fact, they are often based on distorted thinking, past experiences, or fears that no longer serve us. And if we want to make real progress, we need to identify and challenge these beliefs, one by one. It's a process that requires self-awareness and courage, but once you start questioning these beliefs, you'll begin to see a shift. You'll start realizing that the walls that seemed so tall were actually just illusions. Consider for a moment the belief that you aren't good enough. It's a common one. Many of us carry it with us in different forms, but if you take a step back, you'll realize that there's no universal standard for good enough. What does it even mean to be good enough? Is it some fixed point that once achieved, you'll suddenly become worthy of success, happiness, or fulfillment? The reality is that we are constantly evolving, constantly learning and growing. The idea of good enough is fluid, not fixed. Think about the first time you tried something new. Perhaps it was a job interview, a performance, or even a simple conversation. Chances are, you didn't feel good enough before you did it. But after the experience, you gained knowledge, confidence, and perspective. And over time, you became better. You may not have been good enough at first, but with effort, persistence, and learning, you grew into the person who is now capable. The belief that you're not good enough is simply a product of not having had enough practice or exposure to whatever you're trying to achieve. It's a belief that only holds power if you let it. The same goes for the belief that you don't deserve success or happiness. This is another belief that can limit you in ways you might not even realize. It's not uncommon for people to feel like they haven't earned their success or aren't worthy of their dreams. But the truth is, everyone deserves happiness, success, and fulfillment. You are not defined by your past mistakes, your failures, or the things that didn't work out. You are defined by the actions you take from this point forward. When you start to challenge these limiting beliefs, you might initially feel uncomfortable. It's normal. After all, you've carried these beliefs with you for years, even decades, and they've shaped the way you see the world. But once you recognize that these beliefs are not set in stone, you'll start to see new possibilities. You'll begin to understand that you can shape your own story, regardless of what your past tells you. But how do you begin the process of identifying and breaking free from these beliefs? The first step is simple: awareness. You can't change something if you don't know it's there. Pay attention to the thoughts you have when you face challenges. What do you say to yourself when things get tough? When you don't get the results you want, how do you react? Are you quick to blame yourself, to think, "I'm just not good enough," or "this isn't meant for me"? These thoughts are clues to the limiting beliefs you carry. It's also important to pay attention to patterns. If you've tried to achieve something multiple times and consistently fall short, it's easy to start believing that you'll never succeed. But these patterns don't mean you're destined to fail. They simply reflect your current mindset. If you can change your mindset, the pattern will change. The next step is to challenge those beliefs. Once you identify them, question their validity. Ask yourself, is this belief true? Where's the evidence? Take a good look at your past experiences and see if they support or contradict the belief. If you believe you're bad with money, think about times when you've managed money well. Maybe you've saved for a big purchase, or maybe you've been able to make smart financial decisions in the past. Those moments prove that you're not inherently bad with money. They just show that you can improve with practice and focus. It's also helpful to reframe the belief. Instead of telling yourself, "I'm terrible with money," reframe it to, "I'm still learning how to manage my finances, but I'm getting better every day." This simple shift in perspective can make a huge difference. You stop seeing yourself as bad or incapable and start seeing yourself as someone who is on a journey of growth. But perhaps the most powerful way to break free from limiting beliefs is through action. You have to take small steps, even if it's uncomfortable at first. If you believe that you're not good enough to pursue a new career, start by researching the field. Read books, talk to people who are in that field, and take courses. The more you expose yourself to new opportunities, the more you'll see that you're capable of learning and growing. The belief that you're not good enough will gradually fade as you prove to yourself that you can take action, learn, and succeed. This is where the real magic happens. The more you act despite your fears and doubts, the more you realize that you are not defined by your beliefs. You are defined by the actions you take, by your willingness to challenge what's been holding you back. The key to getting better every single day is not just about improving your skills or achieving your goals. It's about changing the way you think, about questioning the beliefs that limit you. The moment you realize that you are not bound by your past or your self-imposed limits, you unlock a new level of potential. And once you start to see that, everything begins to change. The journey to overcoming limiting beliefs isn't always easy, but it is absolutely worth it. Each time you break free from a belief that has held you back, you take a step closer to becoming the person you've always wanted to be. You start to live with purpose, with confidence, and with the belief that you are capable of achieving anything you set your mind to. As you move forward, remember that you are not your beliefs. You are the person who chooses to act, to learn, and to grow. And with each day, you get better. Not because you're good enough, but because you're committed to improving, one step at a time. Chapter 2: The Neuroscience of Creativity. The world we live in is full of endless possibilities, yet many of us still find ourselves struggling to unlock our own creative potential. It's almost as if creativity is something reserved for a select few, a gift bestowed upon the fortunate. But the truth is, creativity is not some mysterious trait that only a handful of people possess. It's a skill that can be nurtured, developed, and even expanded over time. Understanding the science behind creativity helps us realize that it's not about waiting for a burst of inspiration. Instead, it's about creating the right conditions for creativity to flow. The brain is a remarkable organ, capable of forming new connections, synthesizing information, and coming up with innovative ideas. Creativity isn't some mystical process that happens by chance. It's the result of complex neural interactions, many of which we can influence. Every time you make a new connection, solve a problem in a novel way, or come up with a fresh idea, your brain is actively rewiring itself. This is called neuroplasticity, and it means your brain can adapt, grow, and change based on the experiences you give it. Understanding how your brain functions when it's in a creative state is the first step in unlocking your creative potential. The brain doesn't work in a linear step-by-step fashion. It's constantly taking in information, filtering it, and making connections. Creativity occurs when you take seemingly unrelated ideas or experiences and combine them in a new way. It's not about having all the answers at once, but rather having the ability to make new connections between things you already know. The idea of the light bulb moment, when inspiration strikes out of nowhere, is a myth. Creativity tends to thrive in an environment that encourages it, where ideas are allowed to flow freely, without judgment or restriction. When you try too hard to force creativity, your brain becomes bogged down by stress and pressure, making it more difficult to think clearly. On the other hand, when you give yourself permission to explore ideas without immediately worrying about the outcome, your brain can open up to new possibilities. This process starts with the mind's ability to access different states of thinking. One of the most important states is what psychologists call the default mode network. This is the part of the brain that becomes active when we're not focusing on any specific task, but are instead allowing our minds to wander. Daydreaming, letting your mind drift while you're on a walk, or relaxing in a quiet space. These are all opportunities for your brain to make connections that you might not consciously recognize. It's during these moments that your brain is actively processing information and seeking new ways to combine what it already knows. In fact, some of the most creative breakthroughs have happened when people weren't actively trying to be creative at all.
Another important aspect of creativity is the ability to take risks and embrace failure. Too often, we shy away from trying something new because we fear failure. We worry about looking foolish or making mistakes, and that fear prevents us from taking action. But the reality is, failure is an essential part of the creative process. It's through our mistakes that we learn and grow. Each failure teaches us something valuable, whether it's a new perspective, a different approach, or simply the knowledge that we're one step closer to finding the solution. Creativity doesn't come from getting everything right on the first try. It's about experimenting, learning, and iterating. One of the most powerful tools in unlocking creativity is the ability to shift your mindset. If you see creativity as something rare and unattainable, you'll constantly struggle to tap into it. But if you view it as a skill that anyone can develop, you'll start to approach challenges with curiosity rather than fear. Rather than asking, "What's the right answer?" ask, "What can I discover?" This simple shift in perspective opens up new possibilities and helps you move away from the idea that creativity is something reserved for the lucky few. One of the biggest misconceptions about creativity is that it requires inspiration to get started. People often think that you need to wait for the perfect idea to come to you, and that only then can you start working. But the truth is, creativity is a process, not a moment of inspiration. The key is to build momentum. Start with a small idea, no matter how insignificant it might seem. Often, the act of starting is the hardest part. Once you begin, your brain will naturally start to build on what you've already done, and the creative process will take shape. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to access your creative potential. This is where consistency becomes important. Just like any skill, creativity gets better the more you practice it. Set aside time each day to engage in creative activities, even if you don't feel like it. Some of the most creative breakthroughs happen when you least expect them. Maybe it's in the shower, on a long walk, or just sitting quietly with your thoughts. The point is to create space for creativity to show up. The key to nurturing creativity is also to feed your brain with new experiences and information. The more diverse your experiences, the more connections your brain can make. Read books, explore new hobbies, travel, talk to people with different perspectives, do anything that expands your mind. Creativity thrives on diversity. When your brain is exposed to new and varied information, it can combine those experiences in unexpected ways. You might also find that working within constraints can enhance your creativity. Having too many choices or an overwhelming sense of possibility can actually stifle creative thinking. On the other hand, working with a specific challenge or a set of limitations can force your brain to think more innovatively. This is why certain creative exercises, like brainstorming within a set of rules or creating something out of limited materials, can help trigger new ideas. The boundaries don't limit creativity, they actually fuel it. Collaboration is another powerful tool for sparking creativity. When you share ideas with others, you open yourself up to new perspectives and fresh approaches. Collaboration allows you to bounce ideas off one another, get feedback, and see things from angles you might not have considered on your own. Creative collaboration often leads to breakthroughs that wouldn't have been possible in isolation. So don't be afraid to seek out partnerships or ask for feedback. Even if the process feels uncomfortable at first, the results can be incredibly rewarding. Above all, the most important thing you can do to nurture your creativity is to trust the process. Stop worrying about perfection, stop waiting for the perfect idea, and just begin. Creativity isn't about making something flawed. It's about starting where you are, making mistakes, learning from them, and gradually refining your ideas. With each step forward, your creativity will grow, and as it does, you'll find yourself more open to new ideas, more willing to take risks, and more confident in your ability to create something unique. The beauty of creativity is that it's not limited to any one area of life. You can be creative in your job, in your relationships, in your personal development. Creativity is not about being an artist, it's about being someone who can think outside the box, solve problems in new ways, and approach challenges with a fresh perspective. The more you understand the science behind creativity, the more you can apply it to all areas of your life. The possibilities are endless, as long as you embrace the process and give yourself the freedom to explore. So start today. Give yourself permission to think differently, to challenge your assumptions, and to experiment without the pressure of needing to be perfect. When you do, you'll unlock a wellspring of creativity that has always been there, waiting for you to discover it. Creativity is not something reserved for a few special people. It's a skill that anyone can develop, and it's yours for the taking. All it takes is the willingness to begin and the courage to see where the journey will take you.
Chapter 3. Disrupting the status quo. Change is uncomfortable. That's a simple truth we can all agree on. Even when we know it's necessary, when we can see its potential, change still feels like a heavy weight. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing you could soar if you take the leap, but also feeling the fear of the unknown. Most people settle into comfort because it's familiar and, in a way, safe. We like routine, the predictability of the day, the certainty that tomorrow will look somewhat like today. But here's the catch. The world around us is constantly changing, and if we're not willing to adapt, we risk being left behind. The status quo may feel comfortable, but it's not where growth happens. The magic, the breakthroughs, the progress, all of those occur when we step outside of what we've always known and challenge the way things have always been. Disrupting the status quo isn't just about changing for the sake of it. It's about seeking better ways, better solutions, and a more meaningful life. It's about questioning the things that hold us back and daring to step into uncharted territory. But change, by its nature, demands courage. It's a willingness to be uncomfortable, to challenge yourself, and to embrace the uncertainty of not knowing exactly where you'll land. It's far easier to maintain the status quo, but by doing so, you're missing out on the potential to grow, to achieve, to be better than you were yesterday. The first step in disrupting the status quo is understanding that the world around you is shaped by people who dared to be different, people who challenged accepted norms. Think about the great innovators throughout history, the people who changed the way we live. Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs. None of these individuals took the path of least resistance. They faced setbacks, doubters and failures, yet they were driven by a belief that something could be different. They saw the potential in what others couldn't see and took steps to bring their vision to life. This mindset is the key to disrupting the status quo in your own life. The willingness to challenge yourself, your assumptions, and your circumstances. It's not about blindly rejecting everything you know, but about questioning it. Ask yourself, is there a better way to do this? Is there something I could try that would push me further? What's the next step that will take me to where I want to be? Disrupting the status quo isn't limited to big, world-changing inventions. It happens on a personal level too. You disrupt the status quo when you decide to improve yourself, when you choose to be better than you were yesterday. Think about the habits that shape your life. How often do you fall into routines that feel safe, but don't actually help you grow? The habit of procrastination, the habit of avoiding challenges, the habit of staying comfortable in a job or relationship that doesn't serve you, these are all ways in which the status quo keeps you stagnant. The key to disrupting your own status quo is to stop accepting things the way they are. Look at your life through a fresh lens, as if you were an outsider observing it. Ask yourself, what could I do today that would push me toward a better version of myself? It could be as simple as waking up an hour earlier to focus on a personal project, saying no to a commitment that doesn't align with your goals, or setting aside time to learn a new skill. These small shifts are the first steps in shaking up the routines that no longer serve you. But disrupting the status quo doesn't just happen by making changes here and there. It requires a mindset shift, a willingness to see the potential for something better, and the courage to go after it. It's easy to be trapped by the belief that you can't do better, that you're not capable, that this is just how things are meant to be. But what if that belief is the thing that's holding you back? What if the real barrier is your own perception of what's possible? The truth is, most of us limit ourselves more than we realize. We impose invisible boundaries on our own potential, believing that certain dreams are too big, too far out of reach. But in reality, many of these limitations are self-imposed. They stem from fears, doubts, and misconceptions about what we're capable of. Disrupting the status quo means breaking down these self-imposed barriers and stepping into new possibilities. One of the most powerful ways to do this is through action. When you take action, no matter how small, you disrupt the comfort of inaction. Action has a way of shaking things up and creating momentum. Think about the times when you felt stuck or uncertain. Chances are, the moment you took action, whether it was starting a new project, making a difficult decision, or taking a risk, things began to shift. Momentum follows action, and action follows clarity. When you start moving in a new direction, the path becomes clearer. Taking action requires you to take ownership of your choices. You are responsible for creating the life you want, and this requires bold decisions. Disrupting the status quo requires you to stop waiting for permission and to start making things happen for yourself. You might not know the exact outcome, and that's okay. But by taking that first step, you're saying, I'm not content with the way things are. I'm ready for something more. Another important aspect of disrupting the status quo is resilience. Change doesn't happen overnight, and the road to transformation is often filled with setbacks and failures. It's easy to give up when things don't go as planned, but real change doesn't happen because everything is perfect. It happens because you keep going, even when it feels difficult. Resilience is about staying committed to your goals, even in the face of adversity. It's about embracing failure as part of the process and not letting it define you. Disrupting the status quo also involves surrounding yourself with people who inspire you, people who encourage you to be better, people who are willing to challenge you and push you out of your comfort zone. Look at the people you spend time with. Do they elevate you, or do they keep you stuck in the same old patterns? The people around you have a huge influence on your mindset and your ability to break free from the status quo. Seek out those who inspire growth, who have a vision for the future, and who push you to be the best version of yourself. When you make the decision to disrupt the status quo, you're not just changing your own life. You're creating a ripple effect that extends to everyone around you. Your courage, your determination, your willingness to take action, it all inspires others to do the same. Think about the people who have inspired you in your life. They were not the ones who played it safe or followed the crowd. They were the ones who dared to be different, who took risks, and who changed the game. As you start to challenge the norms,
Whether they're personal or societal, you begin to see new opportunities. Disrupting the status quo opens up possibilities that you never saw before. It requires you to think bigger, to think bolder, and to believe that you are capable of more than you've been led to believe. It's not just about shaking things up for the sake of change. It's about making room for growth, for new experiences, and for a better future. The most powerful tool for disrupting the status quo is the mindset you adopt. A mindset that sees change as an opportunity, not a threat. A mindset that welcomes challenges as a chance to grow. A mindset that believes you are capable of achieving greatness, no matter what obstacles stand in your way. When you embrace the idea of disrupting the status quo, you're not just improving your own life. You're showing the world what's possible when we stop accepting things the way they are. You're taking the first step in creating the life you truly desire, a life that's not dictated by fear, comfort, or complacency, but by purpose, passion, and progress. Chapter 4. Reprogramming your subconscious mind. We all have voices in our heads, those whispers that tell us what we can't do, what we're not good enough for, or what we should be afraid of. Sometimes they're subtle, sometimes they're loud, but they're always there, shaping our thoughts and actions. These voices are not always based on reality. They are often rooted in fears, doubts, and past experiences that have nothing to do with our true potential. These are the beliefs we've adopted over time, beliefs about who we are, what we can achieve, and what's possible for us. But here's the hard truth. Many of these beliefs are nothing more than stories we've been telling ourselves, stories that limit our growth and keep us stuck in old patterns. Reprogramming your subconscious mind is the process of taking control of these beliefs and replacing them with ones that empower you. It's about shifting your internal narrative from one of limitation to one of possibility. The good news is that this isn't something that happens overnight, but it is something that you have the power to change. The first step is understanding that your subconscious mind is the root of many of your actions. While you may consciously want to achieve great things, your subconscious mind is what drives the majority of your behavior. It stores all of your past experiences, emotions, and learned beliefs, and it operates largely on autopilot. When you make a decision, you're typically not only responding to what's in front of you, but also to the beliefs and memories stored in your subconscious. If you've failed in the past or encountered hardship, your subconscious mind may develop the belief that you're not good enough, or that success is out of reach. These beliefs are so deeply ingrained that you may not even realize they're shaping your actions. If you've ever found yourself sabotaging your progress, procrastinating, or hesitating when it's time to take a leap, chances are your subconscious mind is at play, keeping you trapped in those limiting patterns. So how do you break free? The key is to become aware of those beliefs and challenge them. Start by identifying the thoughts and stories that are holding you back. Do you believe that you're not talented enough, smart enough, or capable enough? Do you fear failure or worry that you won't be accepted? These beliefs are often formed by past experiences, negative feedback, or societal expectations. They become so familiar that they feel like the truth, but they are simply stories. The truth is, you are more than capable, more than deserving, and more than enough. To reprogram your subconscious mind, you first need to replace these limiting beliefs with new empowering ones. This is where affirmations and visualization come into play. Affirmations are positive statements that you repeat to yourself regularly. By affirming who you want to be and what you want to achieve, you are planting seeds of belief in your subconscious. For example, instead of thinking, "I'm not good enough," replace it with, "I am capable of achieving my goals." Instead of thinking, "I always fail," Replace it with every setback is an opportunity to learn and grow. Over time, these positive statements begin to override the negative beliefs that have been holding you back. Visualization is another powerful tool for reprogramming your subconscious. When you visualize yourself succeeding, whether it's completing a project, landing a job, or achieving a personal goal, you're sending a clear message to your mind that success is possible. This process helps to break the connection between your past experiences and your future potential. It allows you to see yourself not as a victim of your circumstances, but as someone who can create new outcomes. The more vividly you imagine yourself succeeding, the more your subconscious mind begins to accept it as a reality. One of the biggest challenges in reprogramming your subconscious mind is overcoming resistance. The subconscious doesn't like change. It's comfortable with the familiar, even if that familiar thing is holding you back. When you try to shift your beliefs, you may encounter pushback. You might feel a sense of doubt or resistance, almost as if something inside of you is saying, "This isn't who I am." But that's exactly the point. It's not who you are, it's who you've been conditioned to be. Your subconscious mind is simply trying to protect you from discomfort, but discomfort is where growth happens. The key to overcoming resistance is consistency. Reprogramming your subconscious mind isn't a one-time task, it's a daily practice. The more consistently you affirm your new beliefs, visualize your success, and take action toward your goals, the more your subconscious mind will adapt. Just like learning any new skill, reprogramming your mind takes time. It takes practice. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. In addition to affirmations and visualization, another powerful tool is self-hypnosis. This technique allows you to tap into your subconscious mind directly by inducing a relaxed state in which your mind is more receptive to suggestions. In this state, you can give yourself positive affirmations or visualize your goals with even greater clarity. Many successful people use self-hypnosis as a way to change their mindset and reprogram the beliefs. While it may sound like something out of a movie, it's simply a state of deep relaxation where your mind is more open to new ideas. Another effective method for reprogramming your subconscious mind is through meditation. Meditation helps to quiet the mind and increase your awareness of your thoughts. It allows you to observe your internal dialogue without judgment. In doing so, you can start to notice the limiting beliefs that arise and replace them with new empowering thoughts. Meditation also helps you stay present, which is essential for breaking free from old patterns. When you focus on the present moment rather than dwelling on past failures or worrying about the future, you create space for new beliefs and new experiences to take root. As you go through this process of reprogramming, it's important to remember that your subconscious mind doesn't always work on your timeline. It's not about snapping your fingers and suddenly feeling different. It's about small, consistent shifts that build over time. Each time you affirm a positive belief, visualize your success, or meditate with intention, you're rewiring your brain to align with your new reality. These changes may not always feel dramatic in the moment, but over time they will lead to significant shifts in how you perceive yourself and the world around you. Another key element in reprogramming your subconscious mind is to take action. Your mind can't distinguish between imagined experiences and real experiences, which means that when you visualize yourself succeeding or take steps toward your goals, your subconscious begins to accept that reality is true. The more action you take, the more your subconscious mind aligns with the beliefs you are trying to instill. Even small actions like making a phone call, starting a new project, or learning a new skill signal to your mind that you are moving forward. The more you act in alignment with your new beliefs, the more your subconscious will accept those beliefs as part of your identity. It's also important to surround yourself with positive influences, people, books, podcasts, or any content that reinforces the beliefs you want to adopt. When you fill your environment with messages that encourage growth, positivity, and success, you create an atmosphere that supports your reprogramming efforts. The people you spend time with have a significant impact on your subconscious mind. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity or self-doubt, it will be much harder to change your beliefs. But if you're around people who uplift you and challenge you to grow, you'll find that your subconscious mind starts to reflect those influences. Reprogramming your subconscious mind isn't about changing who you are. It's about removing the obstacles that have been limiting you. It's about uncovering the truth of who you are and aligning your beliefs with your true potential. It's about creating new stories of strength, success, and possibility that empower you to live the life you were always meant to live. The journey of reprogramming your mind is ongoing, but with consistent effort, the rewards are immense. You'll begin to see yourself in a new light, with a deeper sense of confidence and belief in your ability to achieve your goals. Over time, your subconscious mind will reflect your new beliefs, and the life you desire will start to become your reality.
Chapter 5. The Myths of Confidence. Confidence is a trait that many people believe is reserved for a select few. It's often thought of as something you either have or you don't, a natural gift that some are born with and others simply lack. But the truth is, confidence is not something you are born with, it's something you can develop. It is a skill, and like any other skill, it takes practice, patience, and intentional effort to build and sustain. One of the biggest misconceptions about confidence is that it comes from external validation. We often think that if we get recognition from others, if we win a competition, or if we achieve a certain goal, then we'll finally feel confident. But this is the myth that holds so many people back. External validation can be fleeting. It's dependent on others, and as we all know, it's unreliable. Relying on the approval of others for our sense of worth is a dangerous game, because it means that our confidence is constantly at the mercy of someone else's opinion or circumstances. True confidence comes from within. It's the belief in your own abilities, the trust that you are capable of handling whatever comes your way. It doesn't depend on external factors. Instead, it's rooted in self-assurance, self-belief, and the knowledge that you are enough, exactly as you are. Developing this internal validation system is one of the most powerful steps you can take on the path to greater confidence. When we rely on others to tell us we're good enough, we're handing over our power. But when we cultivate internal validation, we take control of our self-worth. It doesn't matter if someone doesn't like us or if we fail at something. Our confidence doesn't crumble because it wasn't built on fragile foundations. Instead, we know that our value is inherent, not dependent on external praise or success. The most successful and confident individuals understand this. They don't wait for someone else to tell them they're good enough. They tell themselves that every single day. A great way to build internal validation is through self-affirmations. These aren't just empty words. They're powerful statements that remind you of your strengths, your potential, and your worth. Affirmations work by reinforcing positive beliefs about yourself, counteracting the negative ones that may have been built up over time. You might start with simple statements like, "I am worthy," "I am capable," or "I trust myself to succeed." These affirmations are not wishful thinking. They are reminders of the truth that your value is not contingent on the opinions of others. Over time, as you repeat these affirmations, they will begin to reshape your mindset. They will help you shift from a place of doubt and insecurity to a place of self-assurance. It's important to remember that the process of building confidence is gradual. It won't happen overnight. But with consistency, you'll notice a shift. The more you affirm your worth, the more you start to believe it. You begin to recognize your own strength and capabilities, and that recognition becomes the foundation of your confidence. Another way to build internal validation is by setting and achieving small goals. Confidence is built through competence. When we achieve something, no matter how small, we prove to ourselves that we are capable. Each small victory, no matter how insignificant it may seem, reinforces the belief that we can handle more, that we are capable of succeeding. It's important to celebrate these small wins, because they lay the groundwork for larger successes. The more you accomplish, the more you build evidence that you can do hard things. This evidence, over time, becomes the foundation of your confidence. It's also essential to embrace the inevitable setbacks and failures that come with any journey. Often, we associate failure with a lack of confidence, thinking that if we were truly confident, we would never fail. But the opposite is true. Failure is a part of growth. It's a necessary step on the road to success. The most confident people are not the ones who never fail. They're the ones who fail, learn from it and keep moving forward. They understand that failure doesn't define them. It's simply a lesson. When you can adopt this mindset, you'll start to see challenges as opportunities rather than threats. You'll stop fearing failure and start seeing it as a chance to grow, improve, and become stronger. One of the most effective ways to build your internal validation system is through self-reflection. At the end of each day, take a moment to reflect on what you did well. What are the things that you accomplished, no matter how small? What strengths did you demonstrate? By reflecting on your successes and strengths, you reinforce your belief in yourself. You remind yourself that you are capable, that you are worthy of success, and that you are constantly improving. This daily habit of self-reflection helps you stay grounded in your value, regardless of external circumstances. It's also important to surround yourself with people who encourage and support your growth. While external validation should not be the cornerstone of your confidence, having a positive and supportive environment can make a big difference. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, who uplift you, and who challenge you to be your best. These people will reinforce your internal validation and help you stay motivated, especially on the days when you doubt yourself. They will remind you of your worth when you forget. But remember, their validation should complement, not replace, your own. Building confidence is not about being perfect. It's about embracing your imperfections and recognizing that they don't diminish your value. No one is perfect, and no one has it all together all the time. Confidence comes from being comfortable with who you are, flaws and all. It's about accepting yourself fully, knowing that your imperfections are a part of what makes you human, and choosing to move forward anyway. One of the most transformative things you can do for your confidence is to stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison is the thief of joy, and it's also the thief of confidence. When you compare yourself to others, you're essentially telling yourself that your value is based on someone else's success, appearance, or achievements. But your worth is not tied to anyone else. You are unique, with your own strengths, talents, and path. Comparing yourself to others only diminishes your own confidence and steals your focus. Instead of comparing, focus on your own journey, your own growth, and your own progress. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small they may seem, and keep moving forward with your own vision in mind. Confidence is a practice. It's something you develop over time by challenging yourself, embracing failure, affirming your worth, and recognizing your strengths.
It's about shifting your mindset from one of self-doubt to one of self-assurance, from relying on external validation to building a foundation of internal belief. By cultivating this internal validation system, you will create an unshakable confidence that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. And when you have that internal confidence, nothing can stop you from achieving your goals and becoming the person you're meant to be. Chapter 6. Building your internal validation system. We often look outside ourselves for the validation we crave. We seek approval from friends, family, co-workers, and even strangers. We think that if we can just hear the words we long for, "You're doing great," "You're talented," "You're enough," then we'll finally feel the sense of worth and confidence we desire. The truth is, no amount of external praise can make us feel truly validated unless we first learn how to validate ourselves. When we rely on others for validation, we give away our power. We let someone else's opinions shape how we feel about ourselves. If they're pleased with us, we feel good. If they're critical or indifferent, our self-worth takes a hit. It's a constant roller coaster, and the highs are often fleeting, while the lows feel crushing. But true inner confidence isn't built on external sources. It comes from learning to validate ourselves from the inside out. Self-validation means giving yourself permission to believe in your own worth, regardless of what others think or say. It's recognizing your value, your abilities, and your potential without waiting for someone else to tell you that you are worthy. When you learn to validate yourself, you create a solid foundation of self-respect and confidence that no one can take away. Building an internal validation system is about shifting your mindset and recognizing that you don't need anyone else's approval to know that you are enough. It's about developing a deep sense of self-awareness and self-compassion, and it starts with understanding that you are worthy simply because you exist. It's not about being perfect, and it's certainly not about meeting someone else's expectations. It's about embracing who you are, flaws and all, and giving yourself credit for the progress you make every day. A good first step in developing your own validation system is to start practicing self-compassion. We are often our harshest critics, focusing on our mistakes and shortcomings rather than acknowledging our strengths and successes. If you've ever made a mistake and beat yourself up over it, you know how easy it is to fall into a cycle of self-doubt and self-criticism. But self-compassion asks you to treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend. When you make a mistake, instead of berating yourself, remind yourself that you are human, and all humans make mistakes. Mistakes don't define you, they are simply opportunities for growth and learning. When you practice self-compassion, you create space for yourself to fail, learn and keep moving forward without the burden of self-judgment. This practice not only helps you feel better about yourself, but it also builds your resilience, making it easier to bounce back from setbacks. Another powerful tool for building internal validation is self-reflection. Each day, take a moment to reflect on your actions, thoughts and feelings. Ask yourself, what did I do well today? What challenges did I face, and how did I handle them? This practice helps you become more aware of your strengths and the progress you're making, no matter how small it may seem. Instead of focusing on what you didn't do or where you fell short, reflect on what you did right. Celebrate those moments and acknowledge the growth that's happening inside you. You might also find it helpful to keep a journal where you write down your achievements, both big and small. This can be a great way to track your progress and remind yourself of all the things you've accomplished. On days when you feel down or uncertain, look back at your journal, Reading through your successes will help you realize just how far you've come, and it will give you the motivation to keep going. Over time you'll begin to see a pattern of growth and resilience, and that will reinforce your belief in your own abilities. One of the most important aspects of self-validation is learning to trust yourself. When we seek validation from others, we're essentially saying that we don't trust our own judgment. We're looking outside ourselves for approval because we're unsure of our own decisions. But when you develop self-validation, you learn to trust that you are capable of making good decisions, that you are wise enough to handle whatever comes your way. This doesn't mean you'll always make the right choices, but it does mean that you'll trust yourself enough to take action and learn from your mistakes along the way. Trusting yourself also means being honest with yourself. If you've made a mistake or fallen short of your own expectations, acknowledge it without shame or guilt. Instead of denying or hiding from your mistakes, own them. Recognizing and accepting your flaws is a key step in building internal validation. It's not about being perfect, it's about being real. When you stop pretending to be someone you're not, you free yourself from the need for validation from others. Learning to validate yourself also involves celebrating your successes, both big and small. Often we focus so much on what we still need to do or what we've yet to achieve that we forget to acknowledge the progress we've already made. Every step forward, no matter how small, is worth celebrating. Whether it's finishing a difficult project, overcoming a personal challenge, or simply getting through a tough day, give yourself credit for the effort you put in. This practice not only boosts your confidence, but also reinforces the belief that you are capable and deserving of success. Sometimes the most important validation comes from within. It's the quiet acknowledgement that you are enough, just as you are. When you learn to validate yourself, you free yourself from the constant need for approval from others. You become less reliant on outside praise and more focused on your own growth and progress. This shift in mindset is transformative because it puts you in control of your self-worth. It's important to remember that self-validation doesn't mean becoming arrogant or self-centered. It's not about thinking you're better than others or seeking constant praise. Rather, it's about recognizing your own worth and acknowledging the value you bring to the world. It's about standing tall in your own truth and knowing that you don't need anyone else's permission to feel good about who you are. When you start validating yourself, you begin to see the world differently. You no longer depend on the opinions of others to define who you are. Instead, you become the authority on your own life. You know what you're capable of, and you trust yourself to make the right decisions. You stop seeking approval and start seeking growth. And in doing so, you create a foundation of confidence and self-worth that will carry you through any challenge life throws your way. By building a system of self-validation, you become more resilient, more confident, and more capable of facing life's challenges with grace. You'll find that you're less affected by the opinions of others and more focused on your own growth and progress. With each step you take toward validating yourself, you strengthen the foundation of your self-belief, and that foundation will support you through whatever comes next.
Chapter 7. Body Language Hacks for Instant Confidence. How we carry ourselves can have a profound impact on how we feel and how others perceive us. It's easy to think that our emotions and mindset are solely shaped by our internal thoughts, but the way we present ourselves to the world through our body language also plays a crucial role in shaping our experience. In fact, the simple act of adjusting your posture or your facial expression can influence not only how others view you, but also how you view yourself. Body language is an incredibly powerful tool, one that can be used to project confidence, gain trust, and even shift our own mindset in moments when we need it most. It's something we all have access to, yet so few of us take full advantage of it. The good news is that it's not complicated. You don't need years of training or professional expertise to